A university degree, the way that they teach it now, is pretty useless. Like, you're not going to remember those definitions, you're not going to remember those theorists, you're not going to remember even what you wrote a paper on. But having that line on your resume, that's everything. But that's where the problem lies. Like, why are we doing something just so we can put it on our resume when the actual thing isn't helpful?
This is Q&A, but Canadian.
Welcome back to my channel. My name is Cheyenne, and if you're new here, I make social and political commentary videos. I try to post every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 1 p.m, so make sure you subscribe if you're interested in that kind of stuff. So today's question is a university degree useful? This topic is very divisive because if you don't have a degree, or if you went to university and you realize it's full of a bunch of people who don't even know what they're doing and probably shouldn't be in university, and so you dropped out, then it's very encouraging to go on YouTube and watch videos of people saying that a university degree is useless. But obviously, when someone like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or Steve Jobs says, I don't care what kind of degree you have, I just care about what you're capable of, it's easy for them to say because they were the first in an industry that was just starting. Mark Zuckerberg created a social media company before social media existed. So obviously dropping out of university made sense because universities were not even on that wavelength back then. But try getting a job at Facebook now without a degree. If Mark Zuckerberg hadn't created Facebook and if Elon Musk hadn't created PayPal and then they still said university degrees are useless, would anybody pay attention to them? No, it's because of what they did that they can say that. But on the other hand, getting a university degree doesn't mean you're going to get a job. But it will mean you're going to be in debt. That's for sure. I remember my very first year, very first week of school, very first day of school, at an 8:30 Monday morning lecture. I find my class, I sit down, the prof starts speaking, and he goes, I'm here as a university instructor to teach you how to think. University is not about getting a job. I was literally like, okay, I'm in the wrong class. Classic mix-up, 8:30 on a Monday morning. My bad. So you probably know somebody who went to college for a certificate or did like a trades program and is now making like 80, 90 grand a year. Probably also know somebody who did a liberal arts degree and can barely find a job for 35,000 a year. Sometimes I ask myself, do these trades jobs, do they pay well just because they pay well, or do they pay well because there's nobody doing it? And so when you find someone that can do it, you pay them more. There's a lot of people graduating with a psych degree. And maybe in the job market, there's only so many jobs that are related to that degree that they don't really need to pay people a lot of money to do it because they know they can just find someone else. The other thing about trades is that it doesn't make sense to sit and read books and then write essays in order to be an electrician. Reading about wires doesn't make you turn the light switch on. But there are degrees that are very hands-on but do require a lot of reading. Like engineering, medicine, like you're gonna want your doctor to know a lot about the human body before they start cutting people open. And you have people like me who went to school for like communication studies, which is basically like media studies because nobody understands what communications is. And I also have a certificate in marketing, and now I'm working as a sales and marketing coordinator. But realistically, my job is just to answer emails, answer phones, pay bills. To do my actual job, like the actual job description that was given to me when I got this job, I didn't need to go to school for. I just have to be like a highly organized person. But because I went to school for marketing and because I already knew how to do graphic design stuff from like high school through university, I've brought that into this job and I've created like a new position for myself because of the skills that I already had. When I got hired, they jokingly said like, oh, can you help us with our website? But now I'm actually helping with the website because I already had experience doing websites, and so I just brought that into this context. That's something that I learned on my own. I didn't take a website coding class when I was in university, but when people see communications marketing degree and then I tell them that I have website graphic design skills, they believe me. If I didn't have that degree and I told them I had these skills, they would want to see portfolios, they would want to see past work, recommendations. Like having a degree is almost useful just because of what it signals to other people, not even like what you learn. When you think about how a university is actually set up, it makes no sense that they would prepare you for the job market. What is the history department? What is the literature department? Those are degrees where you literally have to Google jobs for history majors, jobs for lit majors. If universities were actually set up to get you a job, instead of history department, it would be like consulting department. Because the only reason you learn history is so that you can advise people to not do the same thing that people were doing 400 years ago that got them in trouble. I don't know what lit would be. When I was doing the research for this video, I learned that universities in like the format that they're in now really got their start during the Enlightenment period, like 300, 250 years ago. And during this period, a lot of people stopped looking to the church to find meaning and purpose in life, and they started looking to like sciences and culture. And so universities were developed in order to teach people about science and culture so that they can find meaning in those things. Nothing to do with jobs. It was really for like rich people who had a lot of time and could just go and read books somewhere. But then when the Industrial Revolution hit and they were trying to transition society from farming to factories, universities turned into something that could get you like a management job, because you were thinking at a different level than people who were just doing menial, repetitive labor. But universities aren't really good at keeping up with the job market because they're very internally focused. I feel like ideologically, universities still act as if they're just an institution where people come to learn more. But functionally, they're starting to realize that like you can't have people graduate from your university and not find a job, because then it looks bad on your university. And since universities are mostly funded by tuition, they need to have more students coming into their school in order to keep going. Every university wants to be able to say that 98% of their graduates find a job within their field in the first 6 months of graduation. Everyone wants to say that. This is just a big, messy relationship between students and schools and the job market, and none of it is working properly. I went to university, didn't really have a choice. I grew up with immigrant parents, like not going to university was just not an option. I don't know what would have happened to me if I told them I wasn't gonna go. But again, that didn't even cross my mind. But also like I'm actually a student that does well with like reading and then regurgitating information. Like that was like my learning style. So university wasn't problematic for me. But I went to university, I got my degree, and now I have my job that pays well with benefits and a pension. So technically I got what I was told I would get if I went to school. Like I have a good job. But I also have a lot of friends who went to school and don't have good jobs, or went to school and are not in what they want to be. So like I don't consider myself the norm, I consider myself lucky. I don't know how long it's going to take for universities to snap out of their foolishness and just start doing what people are expecting of them. One thing that really worked for me when I was in school was that I was constantly looking at job postings in my industry that I wanted to get into. I was also reading a lot of industry news. So I had an idea of what the expectations were for someone just getting into that industry, like an entry-level position. And I also knew the challenges of that industry. And then I would go back and write essays on how I would use the theories that I'm learning in school to help fix those challenges in the industry, so that when I went to interviews, I could be like, yeah, I studied this problem, here are my ideas. But that was something that I did on my own. Like that was something that my dad told me to keep doing. He always told me to look at job postings and make sure you have those skills so that you're ready when you graduate. That was not something that university taught me. And had I not done that, had I not looked at job postings, I don't think I would have gone back and done a marketing certificate. I think I would have just graduated with my communications degree. And looking back now, I know that marketing certificate is really what changed a lot of people's minds in interviews about me. Because a communications degree, like nobody really knows what that is. It's only people like in academic institutions that understand what a communications degree is. No one in the job market knows what that is. But when they see marketing, they get it and they're like, okay, we can see how you can fit in this. I feel like there's two things going on here. One, universities have sort of positioned themselves in order to be relevant, to be that place where you come in order to get a good job. But at the same time, they're not that place. But I think there's something bigger going on here, because universities were a relevant place when you were talking about moving from agriculture to industrial, but now we're moving from industrial to digital, and universities don't seem to be keeping up very well. I feel like in the digital revolution, the skills that people need are more about creativity and not about regurgitating and memorizing information. That's why I feel like a lot of the tech people who say you don't need a degree are successful, because they realized that they needed creativity to do what they were trying to do, and they weren't going to learn creativity in a university. So I think when you talk about is a university degree useful, you really have to think about what industry you're trying to get into, because for some industries it is, and for some it's not. But a lot of the benefits of university come outside of the classroom. The networking, the internships, those are things that you don't get in a classroom, but you only get if you go to university. So in that sense, universities are helpful because they give you that 4-year identity of being a university student who's trying to find their way and use that identity to make connections. But the classroom stuff, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. This is actually going to be the first video in a very long series where I try to break down all the problems that millennials face in this world. So millennials have been told this story that if you go to university, you'll get a good job, buy a home, start a family, work hard, and be successful. And now a lot of us are starting to realize that like those things are not happening, even though we're doing everything we were told to do. So in this series, I'm going to talk about every single lie that was told to us and then explain why this dream is no longer achievable for people our age. So make sure you subscribe to get that notification for my next video, and I'll see you next time.